If you've ever locked in a choke and thought, why isn't this working? This video will change how you think about submissions forever. Because chokes don't fail due to lack of strength. They fail because of poor mechanics. Today, I'll show you how to apply chokes that feel effortless but finish fast. Here's the mindset shift you need right away. Chokes are not about squeezing harder. They're about directing pressure correctly. If you rely on strength, you'll gas out. If you rely on mechanics, the choke does the work for you. That's why smaller grapplers submit bigger ones every day. Core principle. Elite coaches like John Danaher teach that a choke works when three things line up: correct placement, proper angle, progressive pressure. Strength is optional. If any one of those is missing, you can squeeze as hard as you want and nothing happens. Let's break down each of these three elements, because understanding them transforms your entire approach to chokes. Correct placement means your choking surface, whether it's your forearm, your lapel, or your shoulder, is positioned on the right target. For blood chokes, you're targeting the carotid arteries on the sides of the neck, not the windpipe in front. For air chokes, you're compressing the trachea. Many failed chokes happen simply because the choking surface is in the wrong place. You might be squeezing incredibly hard, but if your forearm is on the back of their neck instead of the side, you're not affecting the structures that actually cause unconsciousness or breathing restriction. Proper angle is equally critical. Even with perfect placement, the wrong angle renders a choke ineffective. Think about a rear naked choke. If your opponent's chin is tucked and their head is turned slightly away from your choking arm, you could squeeze until your arms fall off and you won't finish. But if you make a small adjustment, turning their head slightly toward your choking arm and extending their neck just a bit, suddenly the same amount of pressure produces an immediate tap. That angle adjustment might involve moving your body position by just a few inches, but it makes all the difference. Progressive pressure is the third element, and it's the one beginners most commonly misunderstand. They think maximum pressure from the first second is the goal, but progressive pressure means gradually eliminating space and incrementally increasing force. You establish the position, remove the excess space, settle into alignment, and then slowly ratchet up the pressure. This approach is far more efficient than explosive maximum effort because it doesn't give your opponent sudden feedback that allows them to defend explosively in return. What pressure actually means? Pressure doesn't mean flexing your arms. Pressure means eliminating space. It's your forearm against the neck, your chest closing the gap, your body weight doing the work. When the choke is right, you shouldn't feel like you're fighting. You should feel like you're settling in. This distinction between muscular effort and spatial compression is crucial. Most beginners interpret apply pressure as flex harder. They tense every muscle in their arms, shoulders, and chest, trying to generate force through pure muscular contraction. This approach is exhausting and inefficient. After 10 seconds of maximum squeezing, their arms are fatigued and shaking, yet the choke still isn't tight. The correct interpretation of pressure is about removing the empty space between your choking surface and their neck, then removing the space within their neck itself by compressing the target structures. Imagine you're trying to flatten a cardboard box. You don't accomplish this by tensing your muscles and pushing down randomly. You accomplish it by systematically removing the air inside, bringing the surfaces together, and using your body weight to compress it flat. Chokes work the same way. Your forearm should feel like it's melting into the side of their neck, not crushing against it. Your chest should feel like it's settling heavy on their back, not pushing explosively. Your hips and legs should be generating the closing force by bringing your entire body into a tighter configuration, not relying on your arms to do all the work. When you get this right, the experience is completely different. Instead of desperate, exhausting effort, you feel calm and controlled. Instead of your arms burning out in seconds, you could maintain the position for minutes if necessary. Common fixes that instantly improve your chokes. Here's how to upgrade your chokes immediately. First, fix your elbow position. Loose elbows kill chokes. Bring everything tight to your center line. Second, adjust your angle before you squeeze. A small angle change beats a massive squeeze every time. Third, think wrap, not pull. Your arms are creating a structure, not doing curls. If your biceps are burning, the choke isn't optimized yet. Elbow position is one of the most commonly overlooked details in choke mechanics. When your elbows flare out away from your body, you lose tremendous mechanical advantage. Your arms become levers working against you rather than force multipliers working for you. Every inch your elbow moves away from your center line reduces your ability to generate and maintain pressure. Conversely, bringing your elbows tight to your body, whether you're finishing a rear naked choke, a guillotine, or a collar choke, dramatically increases your effectiveness with the same amount of effort. Think about the difference between doing a bicep curl with your elbow pinned to your side versus with your elbow floating out in space. The pinned elbow allows you to lift significantly more weight with less effort because the mechanics are optimized. The same principle applies to chokes. Keep your elbows connected to your torso, and suddenly chokes that felt impossible become easy. Angle adjustment is your secret weapon for finishing chokes without adding effort. Before you start squeezing harder, always ask yourself if a positional change would solve the problem more efficiently. Is their chin in the way? Instead of trying to force your arm through their jaw, adjust your angle to slip around it. Is the choke not quite tight enough? Instead of squeezing harder, shift your hips slightly to change the vector of force. These small adjustments often produce immediate results that no amount of additional squeezing could achieve. Slow is strong. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is rushing the finish. Instead, think gradual pressure. Tighten, pause, settle, then tighten again. This gives your opponent less room to escape and saves your energy. The best chokes feel calm, controlled, and inevitable. The impulse to rush comes from a combination of excitement and insecurity. You've achieved a dominant position, you've locked in a submission, and now you want to finish it immediately before your opponent escapes. So you explode with maximum effort, trying to force the tap right now. But this explosive approach usually fails for several reasons. First, it telegraphs your intention and gives your opponent clear feedback about exactly what they need to defend. That sudden spike in pressure triggers their defensive reflexes and allows them to respond with an equally explosive counter. Second, it burns through your energy reserves at an unsustainable rate. If the first explosive squeeze doesn't produce a tap, you're left exhausted and your opponent is still defending. Third, it often compromises your position because you're prioritizing finishing pressure over maintaining structural control. The gradual pressure approach is superior in every way. You establish the choke structure, then systematically remove space in increments. Tighten slightly, pause to let that new level of tightness settle and to assess your opponent's response. Make any necessary positional adjustments, then tighten again. Each increment is small, controlled, and sustainable. Your opponent feels the pressure increasing but has fewer opportunities to mount explosive defenses because there's no sudden change to react against. Practical focus for your next training. Next time you apply a choke, focus on just 3 things. Close the space before you squeeze. Adjust your angle instead of your effort. Let your body weight finish, not your arms. If you do this right, you'll finish faster with less fatigue. These 3 focal points give you a concrete checklist to work through during every choke attempt. Before you apply any significant squeezing force, take a moment to assess the space situation. Is there a gap between your forearm and their neck? Is their chin creating space? Are your elbows floating out instead of being tight? Address these spacing issues first by adjusting your position, settling your weight, and bringing all your structural elements into tighter alignment. Once you've eliminated excess space, pause before adding effort. Look for angle adjustments that might improve your mechanical advantage. Sometimes rotating your hips slightly, turning their head a few degrees, or shifting your chest position creates the perfect angle that makes the choke finish with minimal additional pressure. Finally, when you do begin applying finishing pressure, consciously engage your entire body rather than just your arms. Drive with your legs to bring your hips closer. Expand your chest to create closing force. Use your back muscles to tighten your overall structure. Your arms should feel like they're maintaining a fixed shape while your body generates the actual force. Chokes aren't about overpowering someone. They're about alignment, pressure, and patience. When your mechanics are right, strength becomes irrelevant. Train smarter and let the choke do the work. This fundamental truth about chokes extends to every aspect of jiu-jitsu. The entire art is built on the principle that proper mechanics allow smaller practitioners to defeat larger opponents. But this only works when you commit to using technique instead of defaulting to strength. Every choke you attempt is an opportunity to reinforce either good habits or bad ones. Choose mechanics over muscle, and you'll develop into a truly technical grappler who can submit anyone regardless of size.